You are now tuned into the 2-Minute Warning, a live stream community conversation pertaining to social and political issues and how we can collectively resolve them. Powered by the Westside Gazette.
Good evening and welcome to the 2-Minute Warning. I'm your host, David Wright, and I'm here with the publisher and editor of the Westside Gazette, none other than Mr. Bobby Henry Sr., also our chairman of the NNPA. How you doing this evening, my brother?
As always, man, I'm terrific and getting better. And it appears that every time we get ready to do a show, there's something new that happens. And it always gives me an extra push to want to make sure that we're serving our community that we're supposed to. Yeah.
The community that we love.
That's right. The community that we love. That's correct.
Absolutely. Man, how you feeling?
You know, sometimes we love the community, but the community don't love us. But that's a part of the game.
Well, we learn from the best. We learn from the Most High, who, didn't get that love. So we have to understand that, even within our own household.
That's a brother's life is through adversity.
Yes,
but full of. You know, I had the privilege, along with some other folk, to attend a convocation at Florida Memorial University. And Florida Memorial University has an interim president, and he just so happens to be a friend of the community, a great friend, Mr. William Bill McCormick. And it was one of the most invigorating convocations that I've been to in a long while. Brother Darrell Hodge spoke, and when Darrell Hodge speaks, he gets everybody involved. So it was standing room only. People were on their feet, and it was just good to see that South Florida's HBCU is on the map again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. We have already getting comments. Okay. Speaking of motivation. Yes,
he was.
So we want to go ahead and encourage you now, our viewing audience, go ahead and chime in. Give us your thoughts and comments. If you've seen the topic for the show tonight, I just want to break it down to you. It talks about how politics have influenced / hurt our school board. So get your questions ready, and we want to kind of talking about schools. Oh man, we just had another school shoot.
Do that, David. That's another hard wrencher.
So this is in Georgia, and apparently this was a ninth grader. And from the understanding of the reports that we've gotten thus far, is this was his actual first day at that school. We don't know what provoked him, other than he had been on the radar for
making
postings and making comments. But 4 people have been killed, and another close to 20 have been injured. These assault weapons again, and it's our time now. We gotta do something, and we gotta just stop saying we gotta do something.
We do something.
We gotta do something.
Do something. Yeah. And I know people. There are those who believe guns don't get active until a person activates. So that whole mental process that goes from the thought, loading the gun, taking the gun, going out and committing the crime, that's a process. So somewhere in the process, there has to be some therapeutic intervention somewhere, somehow. So that's where we are, trying to find that place, point of contact to intervene and to begin to address the issues that cause that trigger to be pulled.
Absolutely. And I want to go ahead and see if we can bring on our other co-host, Attorney Sandra. She's been backstage, but we want to bring her on as a part of this conversation as well. She's look at her, vibrant, smiling. How are you?
How you doing?
Yeah,
Good evening, everybody.
Doing well. Just kind of sad to start this topic off with school shooting.
Yeah. Yeah, I see. I just was I'm looking at it, and they released a photo of the young man who did that, and it's just, you know, sometimes it seems like they're focused on the wrong troubled souls, like they're making people of color look like they're the ones that's truly the danger to society and in the communities. And I just have to say, one of the things we do is like we mess with who we got beef with, and then and that's not considered in the meantime, because they're so focused on trying to make us out to be the bad guys. They're not paying attention to what's happening in their own homes, in their own communities, and the threats and the dangers that exist there. And I don't want to blame any of the victims on what happened, but they need to pay attention to like what's happening there and trying to find some sort of way to address this, because the profile of the people who end up doing this, I think you can profile the people who end up doing it, and some time needs to be spent on that.
Yeah.
Again, that's the intervention point, where you come in and do what's necessary to do. We have to be able, open and honest, to deal with that.
Yeah.
So yeah. Sandra, before we move, I'd like to say happy belated birthday to you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
You don't look a day over 16. So
I'm gonna tell you that I'm like grown for real. Like, it's one of the things. Like, I remember when people be like, "I'm a grown woman," they would put another word in the middle of that, and I'm like, "What does that even mean to say that you're a grown woman?" Like, I understand it. You know what I mean? Like, I completely understand that now. Like, people say some things to me, I'm like, listen, I'm grown all day. I don't know what y'all talking about, right? So I get it. I'm happy that I lived long enough to call myself a grown woman.
But you don't look like you have any aches and pains. I mean,
Please, listen. My body reminds me of my age every day. That face be lying.
Okay. What is some hot topic, man? What else?
We got some other stuff going on. There's been some bills passed, and the city of Fort Lauderdale, unfortunately, now is being pushed to the brakes on solving their homeless problem.
Oh, wow.
And this was a bill passed by the state, so now they got to figure it out and basically get people off the street.
I mean, there are some that would consider always housing them in jail.
Well, Sheriff Tony said, nope, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. Sandra, you talked about this. You used the term
hidden. What was it?
Hidden homeless. Yeah, the hidden homeless. Yeah.
And so
go ahead.
I just want to say it's not just the people we see every day on the streets, but go ahead.
Yeah, no. That's a very real thing. And that's considering the cost of living in South Florida right now, that number has increased like exponentially. People so when other folks do it, they call it like couch surfing and all that kind of stuff and try to give it some pretty name. But like if you have and sometimes they'll call it multi-generational homes, and sometimes multi-generational home doesn't always mean that somebody in that house is homeless, but there are times where multi-generational home means that's happening because those people couldn't afford to live no other way. Like if I decided to bring my mother in to help me with my children, but she got her own house, that's a different scenario where like if all of us weren't living together, paying these bills, we'd all be on the streets, right? So there's some benefit to a multi-generational home, but that's another way of like homeless folks finding people that would be homeless is coming together because they couldn't live anywhere on their own without the support of that family.
Yeah, and what I'm seeing here right across the street from us, when they're talking about building all of these affordable places to live, apartments, if you will, I'm reminded of Cabrini Green out of Chicago.
In Chicago,
you just have people stacked and stacked and stacked on top of people, and that's not living. That's not what's considered to be a piece of the American dream. It's only what do you call it? Warehousing, and which creates other problems. So here we got a homeless situation, hidden homeless, the generational thing that you mentioned, all rolled into one big ball of mess. And so how do we deal with that? How do we find this happy medium?
So you mentioned
let me chime in. let me chime in real quick
Okay.
because something you said I wanted to get your opinion on. So
Mhm.
when we get these generations coming together just to survive, and we're all pulling together and staying at one home, when it comes to our census reports, does that make sense for us to still consider ourselves or declare ourselves homeless for the sake of the census? I'm gonna throw that one back to you.
So I don't know what because I mean, maybe depending on the state you live in, if they care about homeless people, you want to go ahead and declare yourself homeless, and it might make some sort of legislative decision. It might, the legislators might do something to solve that problem. We don't live in that kind of state, right? Like where, if they find out like, oh my God, we got like 40% of our population is homeless, we need to do something about it. They're not going to do anything about it, right? Like we just don't live in that state where that's of concern. Where California has that problem, and they try to find ways. They actually let people sleep in their cars. They open up parks at certain times of night so you can drive in there and sleep in order for it to be safe. So there are places, there are states that may try to deal with it. I just don't think we live in a state that really care that people can't afford to live here. They want you to go live somewhere else. Go to Alabama, that's cheaper, Texas, just be gone, because we have enough people who want to live in Florida that's willing to pay Florida money. And so they really don't care, because there's a combination of things that cause the high increase in Florida. Some of it is greed for sure, but we also have when the wealthier Latin American countries have issues, right? Mm-hmm. The people with the money tend to come here. So you have people that can afford to pay for stuff, right? When people who live on the East Coast, I'm gonna blame these New Yorkers for this one, right? They make all this money and then they're like, it's too cold in the winter, my bones can't take it, I don't want to live there no more. And they'll come here and pay way more than anybody in Florida can afford to pay. So if you have people from New York trying to come here, you got people from Argentina, all those rich folks from Venezuela that's leaving, that's coming here, and they're willing to pay crazy money to live here, then they don't care if the natives can stay or not, right? Because it's all about who's willing to pay the amount of, if they can get it for that amount, they gonna rent it to the person that can pay it.
Okay. And our government, that's what they want.
They allow it. I mean, they're pricing us out of our homes with just insurance, just the cost of property insurance. People are like, I can't keep this house because I can't afford to insure it. And the legislators are doing that.
Okay. And I had an opportunity, because I think we want to segue this into politics a little bit, but Shepard Jones mentioned that on an episode I heard him talking about, and basically speaking that the Republicans have been in control for many years now in Florida, and so what we're seeing is a result of their political tactics, and the only way they say to resolve that is to vote them out.
I mean, that we're in the voting season.
Yeah.
Let's turn to some of our viewers and listeners. I see.
Well, let me make one point on that. When you say about the vote, I want to make one point about the voting season. This is the first time, and I got, we got some problems with Nikki Fried every now and then, but this particular election cycle, every single rep seat is contested. Right? There were times where Republicans were running uncontested because they're like, no, it's a red area. There's no chance that a Democrat is gonna win. Every single seat is contested. So there's a Dem running in every race. Because what you were saying about the Republicans, they've had, not only have they been the majority, they've had a super majority at least for the last 4 years. So they've been doing whatever they want, however they want it, right? And so every seat is contested. So we do have an opportunity to change that.
So when we do a down ballot, when we do a blue ballot, or not always recommended, but when we do the best candidate for that position, it can be a little more favorable.
Yeah, but let's do this. We know politics can go on and on and on. But we got coaching waiting, and we got some very enthusiastic viewers that have comments. We want to thank you all for your comments. I see Terry Dillett, Daniela Pierre. Ms. Arthea Wimberly, she really went in on one of her comments that maybe we can take a look at and then come on and bring our illustrious coach on. So if we can, let's see what Ms. Wimberly has to say. Okay, she says, let's go back and ask who was overseeing. She changed that to overseeing the homeless response to the city of Fort Lauderdale. ? We still protect certain people because we gave them several passes years ago after they demonstrated biases that would hinder the process. The city has bragged about folks in charge of responding to the homeless population, an entire staff and resources for years, performance expectations from people who were given positions for reasons other than competence.
Mhm.
Yeah, we got to go back and
Yeah.
bring it. So
Just had some figureheads in here. Yeah.
Yep.
So we want to go ahead and shift now. We know politics
Mhm.
is getting ugly and it's getting dirty, especially at the top of the ticket. But we want to go ahead and bring our coach on now and go through our 2-minute warning sports analyst,
Mhm.
Mr. Newly Robinson. Mr. Robinson, how are you, sir?
Just
I'm
don't
doing
talk about
fine.
the Gators.
Hey, listen, every time I hear your opening remarks, I get excited and fired up because it becomes much more difficult to talk about sports when we have so much more important to talk about. But I will say that your opening remarks are very interesting, and it all leads into sports. I will say one thing, though. Everything in this country leads to racism. They say follow the money. But all these policies are made based on race, and that's really sad in this country. But that's what's happening. It's been happening for a long time. I want to talk about just a few things, and hopefully when I finish, you'll be smiling. I was watching Game Day on ESPN, the Saturday football kickoff show before the beginning of college football last week, and I wrote in my article, I do a column called Noonie on the Sidelines in the Westside Gazette. My brother-in-law allows me to do that, and he gives me some license to be creative. Anyway, there's a guy named Pat McAfee. He has a show called The Pat McAfee Show. His background was really with wrestling, and he's very loquacious, and he's unfiltered, and he's really a really knowledgeable person. But he has a segment on the show where he has a kicking contest, and a student from the home school is given an opportunity to kick a field goal based on, and if he does so, he wins the prize. Well, he upped the ante this time to $50,000, and the kid actually made the kick, and he had to pay. But before he asked a question, what would President Trump say about this young man? And somebody opined that he might just call him a lunatic or a fool or anything, because Trump is unfiltered as well. But what gave me pause was the fact that he would refer to him as President Trump. And so you know how I am, because I only refer to him as 45, because I still understand the fascination that this country has with this insidious demagogue. But anyway, I'm going to keep my eye on Pat McAfee. He has a very popular show. And as a matter of fact, he's even exceeded First Take Stephen A. Smith's show at times in terms of viewership. That's one thing. The second thing is the NFL kickoff. First game is tonight between the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs. I know we're anticipating that. I am too. I love football. But I want to go back. They've been talking about Baltimore's quarterback. What's his name, David?
Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
That's right.
Yes. And quickly, going back to the game last year, the AFC Championship game, I thought Baltimore actually should have won that game, but one of our hometown kids, Zay Flowers, made the mistake of fumbling the ball, trying to reach it over the end zone. But they put all the pressure on Lamar. But what I want him to do is use his God-given ability as an athlete, as a quarterback. He's proven that he can throw the ball. He doesn't have to prove anything to anybody. When the opportunity presents itself to run the ball, if you can throw it. I thought that's why they lost that game. He wasn't playing the kind of game that he is capable of playing. And he was trying to prove that he could be a drop back quarterback. And when that happens and there's pressure, he ends up having to throw the ball away or taking a sack. I just want him to play loose tonight and just beat Lamar Jackson, because he is a phenomenal athlete. And I pray that he stymies KC's attempt to win 3 games in a row. Okay, just quickly then, my wife helped me out with this. I think you'll enjoy this nugget. You know, we have 12 minority owners who have a part in NFL teams ownership. That's amazing. And just quickly, with the Atlanta Falcons, we have Ward Dunn, Will Packer, Dominique Dawes, some of these people you've heard of, Rosalind Browser, and Rashawn Williams. With the Denver Nuggets, we have Melody Hobson, we have Condoleezza Rice, and we have Lewis Hamilton. With Washington, we have Magic Johnson. With the Dolphins, we have Serena and Venus Williams. And with the Steelers, we have John Stallworth. So we are making progress. So that pleases me. I feel good about that. And one last nugget, and I'll be out of your hair. There's a young lady named Jennifer King. She's an assistant coach with the Chicago Bears. She is the first full-time female assistant in the NFL. History in the making. So that's an awesome thing, in my opinion. So that's what I have for you all tonight. I hope you enjoyed the little segment. God bless you.
Thank you. I see one of our viewers, Nooney, asked about any stats on what's that, pickleball?
Pickleball.
That's out of my domain right now, to be honest. We have to work on that later. Maybe I'll have something next week.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna talk college football. I was like, whoosh! I dodged the bullet today.
The Rattlers better wake up. I know they played Miami this week, and Miami is a good team, but they had to come from behind at home to beat South Carolina State, so they better wake up. But I hope Florida and Bethune and Florida Memorial, I hope they do well this year. All of them. We root for all of them.
Amen.
Y'all have a great show.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to move into our guests. Where you want to start?
You bring on Daniel.
I had a chance to talk with this young man behind stage, and I really I just kind of got connected with him. We have so many similarities, but his story, it's just phenomenal. But he was appointed to Broward County School Board, and I'm just going to leave it there so that he can tell you his story, none other than the Daniel P. Foganholi. Come on, Mr. Daniel. How are you, sir?
Good evening. How's everybody doing?
I am well. How are you?
I'm good. Sandra, how are you?
I'm well. How are you doing? Good to see you.
Doing good. I'm not going to let you slide. Those hurricanes, they put a smack bang on it. I'm not going to let you slide on it. I'm not a Hurricanes fan, but can't get away.
Yeah, that was rough.
No, but thank you guys for having me on. I'm excited, but thank you.
So, Daniel, give us a nugget. Give us a little bit about yourself so we can go ahead and bring the other guests on.
Yeah, definitely. Well, again, thank you for having me on. Again, like you said, I am a product of Broward County. I'm proud to be from Broward. Originally born in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm a son of 2 immigrants. My whole family came over from Brazil. First generation American, and like many people, especially in South Florida, they came to America looking for a better life. We came over, and like you were talking about the houses stacked on each other, that sounds like Rio de Janeiro and the favelas. That's what they do. So, for us, America, even when we look at struggles and different things that happen here, my mom used to tell me it's like paradise here. Even when we were struggling, I had upbringing when I was younger. We used to live about 10 people in one apartment, and putting the money, scrapping the money together to pay rent. But still, man, my mom and my dad always taught me to give thanks to God because we were blessed to be in America in a country like this. So again, first generation American, going through school, found myself teaching my parents English. We learn English, me and my sister, my cousins, and that's something that we deal with a lot in our community. We see it now. A lot of kids are picking up English in school and they're teaching their parents, correcting their parents when they're speaking. And we see it time and time again. So for me, I wasn't the straight A student. I know my colleague will be joining us later today. I feel like I was a opposite of what Torey Alston was. Troublemaker. I was class clown every year. For me, I like lightening the mood and making jokes, man, but class clown every single year, even to the point that I had to go to an alternative school. I graduated from Dave Thomas Education Center in Coconut Creek. My graduation was a class of about 10 people, and I graduated in Blanche Ely's auditorium. That was my graduation. But I'm proud to wear that. It's not something I hide. I take pride in that, to a point that we have to show our kids that it's never too late to turn it around. It's never too late to when people give up on you, when they count you out, that you could turn around and make something of yourself. So for me, I take pride that I'm the first Brazilian American appointed in the state of Florida, first Brazilian American on the school board, first alternative school graduate to serve on our school board, and now the first alternative graduate to serve on the State Board of Florida. So again, every single day, I believe God puts me in positions. I'm blessed, stressed, and highly favored, but we continue to make history. And I believe, through God's grace, we're in positions to do that.
Okay. Thank you so much, Daniel. Go ahead.
That's a good. As you were talking, I was putting in simulations with you and our next guest. Yes, opposite do attract, and it will take all of us to make things work. We can't have one without the other.
That's right.
So I am proud to bring on our next guest, who's no stranger to the show or to Broward County. He himself is a homegrown product. You mentioned Bland Chile, you mentioned some other things, and this gentleman is part of that. So if we could bring on Mr. Torey Alston, please. What's happening, young man?
And I have to start off by leaning into the camera since I heard Daniel. I want everybody to see those 4 important letters. FAMU.
Oh man,
I'm glad to be on. Good evening.
Coach said y'all better step your game up Saturday because it might not be pretty. You might be feeling the way I'm feeling today.
That's right. I'm in a Rattler mode today.
All right, strike. That's it.
Absolutely.
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 So Torey, give us a little bit, some just a little bit of who you are and your road to where you are now.
Yeah, so look, it's great to be back on. Good to see you both. My fellow, as I'm a 4th generation member of the New Mile Baptist Church. So as you know, my family has been in this community for decades. I am a man of faith. I am a husband, a son, a father of 2. I have matriculated from Walker Elementary to Parkway Middle School. And of course, I heard the only high school reference, Blanche Ely High School. And look, I'm a FAMU Rattler, as everyone knows, been on the board of trustees. At the time, I was appointed by Governor Christ, the youngest person appointed to a state university board. I've clearly, most recently been appointed to the county commission, on the school board. But that's all public service. I mean, I think folks, which literally over the last 2 weeks forgot that many of us have something called a day job. So I've been, as many of you know, for the last almost 20 years, also a public servant. So whether in my day job, running, all of the transportation infrastructure and toll operations down in Miami-Dade and Monroe County, that's been my role for the last several years. Before that, chief of staff at FDOT, $16 billion enterprise, 6,000 plus employees. So I've just been blessed and humbled to really have the opportunity to work with some great individuals, impact businesses all around the state, support local, small, minority, veteran businesses, regardless of the capacity I was in over the last 20 years. I'm proud of that record. So no, it's great to be back on. And I think the viewing audience, hopefully has learned a lot about my record over the last 2 years, and really, 20 years of really public service all around the state.
Yeah, you actually got some fans out here, Torey. Sister Wimberly just kind of commented the voters erred on not reelecting you. So, but let's go
Can't see her comment, but
this.
excellent.
Well, yeah, go ahead and pull that up real quick for us, if our producers can bring that up. Yeah, she says voters erred by not electing Torey to stay on the
Well, no, look, and I know Daniel is on, and I'll just make this comment because I know we're not discussing anything that will come before the board for a vote. So now that I've said that, we're just talking about, it sounds like the election and politics and how we feel. But Ms. Wimberly, I appreciate the comment, and you have been, clearly a presence for the last 2 years, from me serving as chair all the way to our most recent meeting. But look, the voters decide, right? I respect the results. Clearly, there's a whole lot of things that happen during that election cycle, but I'm good. God is good. Everything happens for a reason. I know that similar, and I appreciate my colleague to my right, as I'm on my screen, he's to my right, who also got appointed to the State Board of Education. So, to the listening audience, Daniel Foganholi will continue to impact education statewide, helping many of our school districts, all 67 of them, hopefully for the next several years when the Senate hopefully confirms Board Member Foganholi in the next legislative session. So look, I appreciate the comment, Ms. Wimberly, but the voters have spoken regardless of, and let me step back and say this, if you don't mind. I want to thank the 10,000 people who did support me. I want to thank, County Commissioners Hazel Rogers, Robert McKenzie, Bobby DuBose, former leader of the House, and so many others who actually did the right thing, who weren't afraid of all of the stuff that happens behind the scenes. And many is no longer behind the scenes because I read a lot of articles in your paper, in your newspaper, along with so many others that have begun to really remove the veil of secrecy that happens behind closed doors a lot. I appreciate those who weren't afraid to stand up, who weren't afraid to push back and do the right thing. And for those who know me, I am independent minded. I've been that way, and I appreciate staying independent minded and not bowing to pressure because my integrity is most important. And I think anyone who knows me will never question that.
Absolutely. And
so I just want to say we're right at the bottom of the hour, so we're going to run through this. Sure. Got another 30 minutes, but go ahead, my friend.
I just want to say all that's been said is the reason why we're having this show tonight. Because there's some things that has transpired to bring us to this point. Now, I just want to ask this question: why, as school boards now are engaged in such hot, nasty politics? And I'll ask both of you that question.
I don't know. And I'll just kick it off. I mean, I remember 20 years ago sitting as a student member on the school board, looking at Bob Parks and Ben Williams and, Paul Eichner and, so many others at that time serving on the board, professionals, experienced diversity of thought individuals who actually brought some meaningful representation, and diversity of opinion to the board. It's different now. I don't have to, tell you that. I think the viewing public and those know our board has really transformed in 20 years. It looks different now, and it'll look a whole lot different. Just call it the end of November. So a lot has changed. Whether it's the national conversation or state conversation, I don't know. But I think that many are beginning to tune in to a board that many have not realized probably uses the most tax dollars for those who are homeowners. I think folks are just beginning to really understand that. It's not your city, it's not the county commission, it's not the hospital district, but it's the school board. So, I think that's also important because yes, it is we're in the business of educating students, but it's also a business. And I think, many forget that side of it as well. So Daniel.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. And I think it's unfortunate. And I think, like you said, for politics to be involved, I always say that I don't think that politics belong in education, right? A lot of the issues that we talk about, a lot of things that come forward, when we look at an item, it's not about right and left. It should be about right and wrong and what's best for our children. And when politics gets involved, I think the only people that lose are our kids, right? We continue to do those things. I remember there was early on when I got onto the board, there was an item that was brought over by Alston. I'll never forget this. And it was an opportunity to provide free tutoring for the children that needed it. And we were going to provide payment for it. We were going to pay for it. And I'll never forget that words were said in the building that if it's coming from a Republican, we're not voting for it. And that item failed. And for me, that was one of the most confusing times for me because I said, I don't understand how we are doing something that puts kids last. We're here for a reason to help our children, help our schools, and politics should not be involved. But I'm not going to say it's not only Broward. I'm going to say it's throughout the whole state, right? And we talk about something that's going to be on the ballot, that's going to be identifying if a school board member is a Republican or a Democrat or an independent. It's not even going to be nonpartisan anymore. And we're going to vote to see if that's what we want on the ballot. That's something that I don't agree with, right? I don't like it. Of course, I'm a Broward guy. I might be saying, hey, that's going to be political suicide if I put an R next to my name. It's really going to be hard in Broward. But let's look at all the other districts in the state. Let's look at all the other districts that would benefit by putting an R next to your name, and they would control boards across the state. Would it be right then? Is that something that I agree with then? But I still don't agree with it. I think it should be nonpartisan, no politics involved in education. And if the person is most qualified to help people, help our kids, then that's the way to do it. But I think it's across the state. It's not only Broward County. It's something that we deal with everywhere.
Yeah, I feel you both on that, because I got some heat for, especially with that school board rate. I'm like, it's a nonpartisan race. Vote for the person that's going to do the right thing and do the best job. And I'm telling you, they were like they were saying,
You never openly said who you were supporting.
I didn't. Well, you know what I mean.
I don't know how you got heat.
I did say there was somebody I was not going to support, and rightly so. Like, I was entitled to my opinion. You know what I mean? If I had an experience with that person that was not, what I thought was the best one, I have a right to do that, right? It got to the point where they're like, "You're not a Democrat. Take away her. How can she be president of a club and saying these things?" And I'm just like, what? It's a nonpartisan race. You pick the person that's going to do the best job for the kids. And that's the part where I absolutely agree with you that there really should be no politics in education. They spend so much time talking about everything but how to do what's best for children, right? And the issue that I was talking about was something that shouldn't have been in front of them, and it wasn't about no kids, right? Like, so it's just, it is crazy, like, what this has come to. And, again, we can't talk about, there are a lot of things that we can't talk about, but definitely there needs to be some change in that school board. And I really want them to prove me wrong when November comes and, them new folks get to take that seat. Let's see how that goes. Prove me wrong, because I don't have a lot of confidence in what's going to happen over there. But I want them to prove me wrong.
Okay.
Well, again, I think we all agree in that aspect. Politics should not be involved with the school board. But Torey, I go back to some of the things you say. I mean, I'm neighbors to the late Ben Williams, and
That's right.
He had such an impact on me as well as my family. And he also looked out for the community. I can remember there was a time I was working with the scouting program, and Ben made sure that all the Title I schools were able to have a scouting program if they wanted something. And I mean, he was literally just looking out for the kids. So we need that type of, those type of individuals with integrity, with their heart in the community, and true focus on doing the business for our children.
If I could, okay, this is not entirely a new phenomenon. School boards and meetings have been a focal point of heated cultural debates, such as when, who gets what and when, based upon where you live and what color of your skin. These are really adult battles and adult partisanship in the interests of kids of secondary importance to them. How did we get to this point as it relates to Broward County? And you two are prime examples, I think, of what this is about. And Dan, let's go with you first. How did we get here?
And I'm sorry, Bobby, you broke up a little bit on my end.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, excuse me. The bottom line is, okay, this is nothing new. We've been arguing cultural battles and having situations where we deal with, but how did this adult thing come down to this partisanship? How did we get here? What was the lightning rod between you two to bring us to this point?
Well, I mean, I think there's a number of things of when it comes to Broward County and the point that we're at, right? I think leading up to this point, you're talking about in the situation that happened at MSD, for example, in 2000, you're talking about that time leading up to now. How many things changed within that time, right? You're talking about, of course, the governor removing people, me coming on as appointee, right? Because I came right before the other four. You're talking about really a lot more involvement from the community that were not involved. There were a lot of people that were not involved in school board races. I remember we would just see it on the news and all the drama that would come up from it. But now you got a lot of factors of people getting involved, not only here, but across the state. There's so many different dynamics that happen in Broward, but across the state that got it involved. But now you're talking about different laws being passed, different bills passed, and different things happening in Tallahassee that affected us. People now that are more involved, it created this more dynamic. I think that naturally caused that. I just think that it naturally came with it. And then, of course, when it came partisan, it just makes it messy. But I don't know. I think Torey's gonna have a better answer for that. But I think it's a lot involved with it. But I think those are the things that led up to it. And I feel like, of course, the governor removing people.
Right, walking on eggshells. Come on, let's talk.
But removing them, and rightly so, though, Daniel.
Correct.
Like, it's not like they shouldn't have been removed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like,
come on,
they
you all right.
removed.
That's one of the things, right? So even though that's what I mean, people forget that that's what it was. When we talk about a grand jury report that removed people for incompetence, when we talked about the reason why they were gone, and then the people that are fighting against me and Torey Alston are blaming like we're the problem. Like, wait a second, we just got here. We just got to this party, and you guys are blaming us for the dumpster fire that was sitting here before us. So you're talking about everybody talks about us and blames us for so many things, which is so weird to me. Like they were saying that the school board is the best school board in the country. Like this, they've done everything right. The smart bond is going swimmingly. Our schools are pristine. Our kids are learning at alarming rates. We weren't a B district for 10 plus years, but they want to blame us. Okay, we've only been here for 2 years, and in those 2 years become an A district. I don't care what political party you are, that's a win for Broward County. Our kids are learning, our kids are moving forward. This is great. But all of a sudden we want to focus, like we want to blame some people for bad things. And you see the dynamic, and it's really sad. Because like I said, we came into something that was not a pretty situation. And then now the blame, you want to put it on us. So it's all good. Like I said, like Torey said, the voters have spoken. And it's been very clear that you want to go back to the old ways of what you've had. So you're going to get it.
Oh, boy. Come on, Mr. Come on.
It is. It's hard to follow Daniel on that. But no, I agree. I think it's, as I reflect, it is, so many forgot how we got here. When I was at the polls, it was interesting hearing the head, the leadership of one particular union only focus on he was appointed by the governor. And when I reminded voters, well, I was appointed because there were 5 individuals named in a grand jury report for incompetence. Then the voter began to say, you know what? Got it, right? I forgot how we got here. Daniel, I think, was spot on. So much has happened since that point. And it's been very convenient for folks to point at, look, Daniel and I, for any bad thing that happened. I didn't say good thing, right? The good things, oh no, right? Just the bad things. Anything over the last 2 years, and anybody who knows anything about something called government, it takes 5 votes to get something done, right? I don't think Daniel plus Torey equals 5, but it's been amazing, the dialogue just by, just those in the community that have kind of pushed some of that. So I am actually relieved because I can't wait till the end of November, because I know there are so many issues, unfortunately, that I'm really afraid about. Number one, I'm afraid for the principal, who I'll leave unnamed, who came up to me at lunch at a random location, who said, you, along with Daniel, have been fighting for every employee, not just one group. That's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of, yes, we are in a school district. We all did it, but let's talk about how it started. My first school board meeting as chair, I told the then superintendent, we will be in a school district, because I came from an A school district where I worked under an A superintendent, and it won't take 7 years. I mean, the Scum Sentinel wrote a little bit about that, right? But people gloss over that. The other piece that's glossed over is let's focus on student proficiency rates. We've done that. That's been done for the last 2 years, and it's been done appropriately by all of our school leaders. So I'm afraid that, yes, we're in a district, but 40% of the district is still behind. Guess who they are? We know who they are. We know what schools they're in, right? We know what part of Broward they're in. We know the different plots. If you just plot on a map, right, the different schools and zip codes, we know who they are. So let's, it's interesting. We do these code conversations, but I haven't been coded for the last 2 years. So that's why one leader of a particular union has been afraid. And I'm okay with that. And I understand. And I will continue to speak up and speak out as I did 20 years ago, sitting in that same boardroom. So those are the kinds of things I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that a rating agency put the district on notice for something that I've been talking about for the last year. Our reserves are very low. If we don't get back to 5%, how do we do that? It's going to take courage from 5 board members to find some cuts or savings somewhere. Guess what happens when we start talking savings? Who do you think they look to? Who do you think they wait to have the conversation? So I'm ready for the new 9, I'm going to call, to get us back on track fiscally, because we're off track. Our rating agencies already told us that. I can go on with a myriad of issues. I'm ready for every employee to get a 3% raise today. Every employee, not just one group. I've been clear about that. That's going to cost money. That's going to mean that we're going to have to do something different as a district and as a board. So let's find 5 members that will find $50 million plus somewhere in the budget to make it happen. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pause there because I know we have some stuff coming next week, and I'm not going to go any more on that. But those are the issues that keep me up at night. And I know I am excited that we have a new 9 that will begin to tackle these issues and hopefully get us moving forward.
That's right. And I'm going to add something on there to what Torey said. I think that Broward County, and I've said this even at panels, it's not going to be an easy next 2 years for whoever sits in the seat, right? They're going to have to make some bold, tough decisions, cuts. It's going to hurt. And I'm going to use the words of Dr. Wanza. Dr. Wanza used the best example of when we were at an event. And she said, Broward County is Kmart right now. Okay. Kmart used to be on every block and used to be the big boys on the block. That was it. They used to run everything until some competitors came on the block. A Target, charter schools. You got Walmart, private schools. And Kmart failed to adjust. And Broward schools right now is failing to adjust. And they aren't doing anything different than what they've done 30 years ago. So now we look at every single year. We have a superintendent right now that just celebrated saying, hey, we lost about 1,500 kids this year. That's actually good because we were expecting more. It's not getting any better. Okay. More schools are opening. Charter schools are opening. Homeschool is booming in our state. Don't only point to charter schools because they don't even have room for kids anymore. But homeschool is booming. If you don't adjust to this, kids will continue to leave. They're going to continue to find different ways to educate their children. The families are. And if we don't adjust, then we're going to be in a tough place. And if you don't have board members that are willing to make tough decisions, tough cuts, and we've seen this, we're going to be in a really hard place. We're going to be a really hard place. And I see in the comments also, I think Brian had said this, that we weren't talking about closing schools a couple of years ago. That's right. And now we have to have that conversation. We have to start talking about closing schools because we're oversized and we're not giving the same resources to all of our children that we should be. And who are the kids that aren't getting the resources? That's the question, right? Who's not getting the same programs that they're getting out west? It's always kids that look like us. That's the answer. The kids that look like us don't get the same resources, don't get the same access as other kids. So until we right size and do the right thing, those kids are going to continue to suffer, and that's not right. So again, that was a decision that we had to make. But now, again, if we don't make it right, if we don't do it right, and we right size this district, then we're going to close schools again in our Black and brown communities, hurting our families. And that's what they're continuing to do. They didn't change that, how they were doing, what they were wanting to do and change the criteria. Is going to happen again. So I just hope that this new board is going to be ready. Again, like Torey said, I'm ready to make cuts, but I don't know if somebody walking into the seat is going to want to do that.
So I just want to chime in here. I think they've been using the term repurpose, but let's just really go back a few years because the effects of COVID impacted our school systems dramatically. Has there been a model somewhere in this country that has come out of COVID, that is thriving out of COVID, that we can attempt to apply here in Broward County? Are we even thinking on those lines?
No, so that's a great question. I think before we can even, so yes, let me answer the question. Yes, there are other districts who post-COVID recognize that many of our children were substantially behind. There are other districts, namely to the south and in other parts of the country, who immediately began to move our children proficiency level from one level to the next. So the answer is yes, there are districts who got it right. Miami-Dade schools got it right early, which is why they've been in A district for a very long time. And I worked for an A superintendent. There are other districts who also got it right. You go out to Clark County. I mean, you can go to the urban districts now out in LA, where Carvalho is now. So many others who also have a similar mix of students, just as Broward, have gotten it right years ago. So imagine for the last 2 years, and I think you kind of framed this right, we've been trying to regain what we lost during COVID, A, and accelerate the learning gains as quickly as possible, B, and then making sure that AP, IB, dual enrollment, Cambridge, honors type student can continue to excel regardless of everything that just occurred. So you had all these factors along with the board dynamics, the superintendent dynamics, the community dynamics, all these things you put in the mix. There was a whole lot happening in Broward, unlike probably any other school district, right? I want to add that because I think folks, say that, oh, this was just happening everywhere. No, I think Broward was unique in that regard. When you put all the different factors on the table, academic factors, financial factors, facilities factors, governing factors, Broward was actually unique. And that's really from around the country.
Go ahead, Sandy.
Okay.
And let me just respond. I don't think we're being handicapped. I don't know who politics and culture is. I disagree with that comment. I don't think Broward schools was handicapped at all. I actually think that Broward schools, we actually had a positive last 2 years. We got rid of a superintendent who hurt many Black administrators, and I'll repeat that, when a majority of the board stood silent and did nothing, okay? Mm-hmm. Other board members before the removed board also stood silent and did nothing. It led to 2 amazing superintendents who were amazing women in this community who did great work. And because they did great work, to whoever that is and to the listening audience, that was Dr. Wanza and Dr. Smiley, let's be clear, who put in the framework that got us to an A district that led to another superintendent that I did not support. And then, of course, we now have Dr. Hepburn. So let's not forget what happened the last 2 years. So yes, we haven't been crippled the last 2 years. We've actually had some amazing success stories and leaderships these last 2 years. I'll be very clear about that.
Okay.
And I don't think the voters disagree on that. I think we had 2 amazing qualified women, and whoever that is, hopefully you agree on that.
Okay. So so I was taking notes as they were talking, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to make all the points I got to make because I know we got to end at a certain time, right? So Daniel was talking about how one of the things that happened was that the community has gotten involved, and that's why the boards are where they are, right? The problem is the community is getting involved in the wrong way because first of all, they're not informed or educated enough to actually understand how board works, what's supposed to happen, where money's supposed to come from, how you can spend it, what the job of the board is. But they're out here talking and responding based on one-line sentences that they're being told by people that are sensationalizing what's going on, right? Amen. So they're getting involved, but not in the correct way, right? They're getting involved because they're hearing all these talking points, and then they're making noise based on talking points, not fully understanding what it is they're responding to. So I think that involvement is not a good thing, right? Then you have some bully folks that have basically created rules that allow them to maintain their positions regardless, right? And they get to make decisions even though that's not what their the people who they're sent to represent want them to do. They get to do whatever it is they want, how they do it, without, you know, letting people know. Now, in terms of what's the product that's coming out of the public school system, so, you know, I'm a fan of the person that's going to do the better job. There are definitely some things that DeSantis has done that I don't support, right? Like, you know, him trying to take African-American history out of school, talking about slavery was good. You can't teach this, let people ban books and all of these kind of things. So those things have had an impact. And that's how you get some of these, you know, one sentence folks coming to meetings thinking they're making a difference, but they're actually contributing to the problems that exist, right? So we do have a problem with the way students are being educated and the products that's coming out of public and charter schools. Because I've taught some classes and I'm asking students stuff that they should have learned in 5th grade. And I'm like, you don't know that answer? So there's definitely a bad product coming out of both public and private school at this point for a whole bunch of different reasons. So Torey wanted to say something, I'm gonna stop, but I got my notes in front of me and I could continue.
I just only want to make one point for the listening audience, and I hope that the person who's also in this box, I'm not going to say more than Sandra to your one point, and I'll just kind of comment. And you're right. There was a lot of conversation in our communities. Let me remind everyone, about a year ago, I got a call from 3 very important community leaders. I won't say who they were. I think I've said them publicly. And the call said, Torey, I think you should bring an item so it's very clear that Broward County Public Schools supports the instruction of African American history. I said, well, no problem. That's state law. Broward is doing it. I'll bring it. And I don't have to tell you what happened. The item was brought and that a whole lot of other things were injected, right? So Sandra, to your point, there has been, you're right, a lot of other kind of stuff, conversations. But in Broward, because we as a board have never banned a book, so I want to make that point to the listening audience, because Broward Schools has never banned a book. There's never been a vote by the Broward School Board. So that's one point that I know is a part of a lot of people talking points. Number 2, Broward supports African American history instruction, period. That's the law. We did a resolution over a year ago when, and I am going to say it, when Bobby Henry and at least 2 other people called and said, you know what, Torey, you should be the one to bring it. And I did. And it took me less than 24 hours to do it. So I just want to be very clear about, the other types of conversations that occur. We don't let that infiltrate what we do in Broward schools. So I just want to be clear and just make that point. That was it.
All right.
If I could, I want to slide something here. You know, Sandra, you said something that might be misconstrued by some listeners.
Okay.
When you said that the people were not educated, we're not. It should have been not educated to the process. You know. So I don't want anybody.
Oh yeah. Okay, I understand. Yeah, they don't understand how the board works.
Nobody to ever think that. No, you're right. So. I want to make that point clear that Sandra did not call us uneducated. She was saying we were not educated to the process. And that is true. Hell, I almost got thrown out of a meeting because I wasn't educated to the process. So that's what she meant. So let's get that straight. Yeah. And for the record, I want you to go back and go on the Westside Gazette's website and read some of Peter Tracy's article about what transpired with that doggone school system. The 9 blind mice that were led by individuals who didn't have our best interests at stake. And here we are. We're about to do it again, but I'm gonna leave that alone. Go ahead.
So I do talk fast, right? But I'm not a fast talker in that respect, right? I'm trying to make my points clear. And I do believe I said that people aren't educated to the process, right? They hear these these talking points, and they come to the meeting stuck on the talking points, but they don't understand how the process works. Like, I don't fully understand how the funding goes. I'm like, well, why can't you take the money from there and do that? And you can't do that, right? And I understand that. I understand that now, but I don't understand the details of that. And a lot of people don't, right? Because they think you could give everybody a raise because there's some money that was supposed to fix the cafeteria or the roof somewhere else, but you can't actually use that money to pay people when you gotta fix cafeteria and roofs, right? So that's that. But the other point, I want to comment on Daniel. I am so I'm like, oh, Daniel, you think it's gonna be tough for those people to decide to sell all the black schools? Like, I don't think it's gonna be that tough, Daniel. We want it to be tough, and we want them to feel bad and struggle with the decision to go ahead and further hurt this community that they've been hurting. They want to further continue the problem that they've created because they've under-resourced those communities for the last 40, 50, 60 years. I don't think it's going to be that hard. They're going to go there and talk for 3 hours and act like it's a tough decision for them to make, but they're not going to make it. I live in a neighborhood that have under-enrolled schools. I live in Miramar West. We got like about 4, 5, 6 elementary schools within 2-4 miles of each other, and they are under-enrolled. They are not about to make these white people in my neighborhood mad and close them schools. You know what I'm saying? Even though they should, and the people who live around here can afford to just go to the Wright and drop the kids off to the other elementary school, okay? So, I'm happy that you think it's going to be, I don't know if I'm happy. I'm impressed that you think that it's going to be a tough decision for them to make. I don't think it's going to be a tough decision for them to make. They shouldn't make the decision. It should be a tough one, but I don't think they got no problem selling all them black school buildings and disenfranchising and forcing those kids in those neighborhoods to move out because their parents aren't going to be able to afford to live there no more because they're going to sell all the land to developers that's going to build stuff that nobody can buy, live in, do anything with. Okay.
You say Norfolk? Did you mention Norfolk on the river?
That's what she
said.
said.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Howardale, like
I said, I'm glad you think it's gonna be a tough decision, but it ain't gonna be.
Yeah, now I'm not saying to, I think you're giving too much credit.
I don't want you to talk about your colleagues. You can go ahead and talk about your colleagues. Just blame it on me. Blame it on me.
Making any decisions are difficult. That's what I mean. I mean, to the point, like I said, if it's a benefit for our students, like I said, I'll bring it again, uniforms is something betterment for our students and helping our community that struggles to afford outfits right now with this high economy right now that is so difficult for so many of our families. That we were saying, yes, this is perfect for our kids. This is going to help our communities. That all it takes is about 10 or 20 people to complain, and then you're scared to make a decision. That's what's going to happen. It's not about if it's right or wrong or going to hurt our community. You can't make a decision anyway because you just don't want to make anybody mad, right?
No, but
Daniel, we want you to remember where you come from.
They have no problem making black people mad. They don't want to make the people that live next to me mad, but they don't got no problem making them black people in Fort Lauderdale and all them other places mad. They're not going to care about making them mad.
I'm with you. And the thing is, but it's very clear, right? And then going back to your point, I think it's very clear because the time that felt most ignored recently I don't know, I can't speak for Alston, but I'm going to speak for myself. When Alston pushed back for saying, wait a second, you all are looking at our black and brown schools and this is wrong, right? And they continue to say, well, that doesn't make us racist if we vote yes. And they voted yes anyway. That point I felt most ignored, right? And to the person, I'm telling you, that's your boy, Torey. It is what it is, leaving comments. It's not election season. This is reality. This is what we're dealing with, right? And I want to go back to the point, Sandra, of what you were talking about charter schools.
That might be Brian, Torey. That might be Brian making those comments.
So look,
we got some other stuff going on in that comment section.
Hold on, Bobby. Hold on. I'm gonna add this.
All right.
Because we talking about charter schools, right? Nobody is ever saying that charter schools are perfect or private schools are perfect. We're not saying that, right? And for a lot of people, especially for Alston, myself, the people that are anti-public schools, let me tell you something. If I wanted to see the failure of Broward County public schools, I would just vote yes with everybody else on that board. I would just say, yes, continue to wasteful spend. Just spend everything. Go ahead. Yeah, get these programs that cost millions of dollars. Yes, let's continue to just waste money. Then it will collapse. If I really wanted to see it fail, the district that I'm from, yes, I would not fight back. But I want to be very clear also, the charter school system, if I'm going to defend it so much, let's not forget the charter school system failed me. I failed. These people allowed me to be in a charter school system for 4 years and I failed. No one helped me. No one came to my rescue. It took one teacher to say, Mr. Foganholi, you need to drop out. You need to go find a different avenue and do something. And it was Dave Thomas Education Center that saved my life. It was an alternative school that gave me an opportunity and teachers that actually cared to say, Mr. Foganholi, if you want to do something with your life, you got to turn it around and you have to do that. Take accountability and you have to do that. So nobody's coming over here preaching that it's charter schools, but what I'm going to preach is that parents should have a choice. There are plenty of people that want to say it's wrong for people to have a choice, but you know who has always had a choice? School choice has always been here, by the way. The only people that have had the choice is rich people. And now that you got people that look like me and come from my neighborhoods and we have a choice, now you have a problem with it? No. Every parent should have a choice for what's best for their children and their education. And we're going to fight for that, especially when you look at our charter schools and majority of them are minorities. So we have a problem with that now? No, if a parent wants structure and uniforms and different things for their kids, let them decide what's best for their children. So for me, I think it's wrong for them to put us in a position like we want the public school system to fail. If we wanted to fail, we would just let it continue to happen what was in the grand jury report. Just let it continue.
You know, I'm loving this conversation. So, and, you know, but what we're confronted with, Daniel and Torey, we are confronted with too much, too late, too little. Right? This conversation and the likes of it should have been had long time ago. So those people who sat on the sideline and didn't come to the school boards when we were dealing with the copyright issue, when we were dealing with those other issues, who sat back on their hands and said, this is a Republican appointed board. Bull stuff. We should have came out then. And now we are left to deal with the fact that the chickens have come home to roost. It's just started. This is only the beginning of what is going to happen down the road if we allow our school board to continue the way it's going. So
now, and Torey, I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in again. And Bobby, the thing is, man, listen, I personally, and this is the optimistic side of me. And Sandra, don't laugh at me, okay? But I always want to give hope, regardless of political beliefs, whether somebody is a Democrat, Republican, independent, libertarian, whatever the case is. If you are involved in education, if you are on a school board, I believe with the bottom of my heart, you really do want what's best for kids. I really want to believe it. And I believe that everybody just may have a different opinion of how to get there. But we all want to see kids succeed. We all want our kids to go to a safe and clean school. We want these things to happen and not to be wasteful spending and be somebody that's going to spend taxpayer dollars responsibly. We do. So I want to still believe that the best is yet to come. I never want to say we're done. This is going to collapse. Sandra, listen, I do want to give it a chance, right? But for me, it's always being optimistic. I never want to just look at it and say, but like I said, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very tough. I've told somebody, whether win or lose an election, I've told my opponent and said, hey, if you need help, I'm going to have to give you a walkthrough because there's going to be a lot of things you're going to have to deal with that are not going to be popular. And this whole rah-rah and everybody wants you to win and be a school board member, all it takes is one decision for people to hate your guts. That's all it takes. Nicole, listen, look at the comments. Nicole Moore still hates Torey Alston because he didn't respond to her phone calls. She's not even in his district. And yet she complains on every comment this man's face shows up on. It is what it is. You're never going to see people because they're bitter and they're mad. Let them be mad.
Yeah, she came for me because she said me and Torey friends. I'm like, I ain't met his wife. I ain't met his kids. You know?
But you know, in all fairness, this is what we're up against. This is what's happening. So how do we differentiate between the way they think we are and what we truly are? We have to show that. And we do that by telling our story. And Daniel, I'm gonna get back on you. You know, we need to tell our story. This is not some simple process. People see the glory, but they don't know the story. So they assume. That's right. As opposed to knowing what is transpiring. We are about to go through some hell, y'all. This is only the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. So we better just, tighten your seatbelts up and get ready for the ride if you're serious about the game. That's right. Now, if you want to play games, then you can do that. And Daniel, you said something. I remember when I was in high school, one of the guidance counselors told me that I wasn't going to graduate. I wasn't going to be anything. So everybody in your area is not for you. it would be ideal for us to believe that way, but it's not. To those who told the little nappy-head black boy, you better go out and do some farming. You're not going to be a doctor, So we still have that. We still have that to deal with, So in comes us, right? In comes us, the hope, the real hope. All right, let me see.
This is such a great conversation, and getting a lot of comments, guys. But we were way past the top of the hour, which we kind of knew this was going to happen. But we still would like to.
I thought we were just getting started.
We were.
Like for real.
Tied up and ready to go,
stuff, man. That's the great
stuff. And I think there'll probably be a part 2 to this. Torey, you're no stranger here. Daniel, we'd love to hear back from you as you take your new assignment. Attorney Sandra, she's a regular. So, but as we prepare to close out, we just want to go around and get some of your final comments. And I guess we'll start with Torey, Sandra, and then end up with Daniel. Bobby, close us out. Okay.
Yeah, well, no, thank you. This has been a great conversation, great comments and commentary. I've actually been chuckling most of the time. But I think I'll just say I am grateful and humble that for the last 2 years, we've actually seen some meaningful progress. And I appreciate Broward. I'm not going anywhere for those who have asked. I will continue to be a strong voice in this community. And again, I'm excited about the future, similar to Daniel. And I'm also optimistic that the new board can and will handle things appropriately. I'm also going to put out a call to action to everyone listening. Yes, I think you're right. When I was chair of the board, I never cut anyone off. I actually increased the amount of public commentary that still occurs today. I think the Scum Sentinel got some of that right. So what I would encourage is for those who are listening is to continue to be engaged, continue to raise your voice, continue to follow the money, as someone just put in the comments, and follow all the things that you don't see publicly. As I know that many articles and columns have written about, because you won't see all of that in the open space. That's what's most important. Having folks that you can turn to that have integrity, having folks that you can turn to that will do the right thing in open session and closed session, because we don't talk about closed session when a whole lot of actions and directions are given, as many know as well. So I appreciate the conversation. I'm looking forward to my day job that has been going on for many, many years, running $1 billion enterprise. Someone just said to me, Torey, I didn't know you had a job. I thought school board was it. Well, for those who thought that was you were cutting me off and hurting me and my family, no, that's not the case at all. Actually, my wife is actually relieved that this process is over, and we can, definitely, allow others the opportunity to make change in Broward. So thank you all for the conversation. Looking forward to what's ahead, and God will continue to work in all of us, including me. And I know that the best is yet to come.
Right. Attorney Sandra.
Yeah, so I feel the need to tell y'all that I was also in a dropout prevention program when I was in school, right? And it's always so funny. I was just like, I'm gonna drop out of school, but okay, whatever that means. You know what I'm saying? And then here we all are, right? Out here talking about great conversation, making impact and everything like that. So I don't know who those people are that was making those decisions. But what I just want to leave on the point, because I took a lot of smoke for some of the comments that I made about the school board members, and particularly right before the election. And somebody in the comments said, get over it. The election's over. The people have spoken. I mean, it was a small percentage of them that spoke, and they didn't speak right, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm gonna stand on that. But I think some of the people who y'all think came out losers are truly the winners in the whole thing. And then hopefully the students in Broward County don't end up being the losers of the decisions that was made on August the 20th, right? And that, prove me wrong. I keep saying it, prove me wrong. We want to see how that go, right? And and Daniel was talking earlier about how this race really should stay nonpartisan. it shouldn't matter if the person's a Democrat or Republican. It's the best person to do the job that should have it, right? And one of the failures of the Democratic Party is they keep putting up candidates that are not the best candidates, and then want to be mad that people don't want to vote for them. You know what I mean? Like, just do better. Just do better at that, and then you ain't got to come, be mad at me that I want to support somebody else because you're not the best candidate to do the job that the office that you're running for. So thank you again for allowing me to be a part of this like amazing conversation, to be sitting in this room with some great people that are doing great work, right? So yeah, that's where I'm gonna end.
All right, thanks, Sam. Daniel.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys again for having us, for having me. Today it was funny because I don't think I was planning to come on, but this morning at FMU, and funny enough, I'm going to add this on there because I thought it was a funny thing. It's a full circle moment for myself out of high school, and people try to bash me for it. But yes, I had a musical career, a musical past.
Yeah.
And anybody from Miami knows Slip and Slide Records. Okay.
Yeah.
We almost signed a record deal with Slip and Slide Records early in my career, and I ran into Ted Lucas at FMU this morning. It was amazing, so we sat and talked, and he's really involved with education, so I look forward to working with him, and of course seeing Bobby there as well. And I want to say something really quick to close off is again, I don't have a political background, right? Not coming from a political background. Torey Alston is one guy, and I'm going to brag on him a little bit, because I consider him my brother, not only a colleague, but a brother, and somebody that I am proud to say he is from Broward. I am proud to be from the same county. I am proud to be a fighter, and I try to be a fighter just like him, right? And for him, like I said, he's done everything right. I feel like he's wanted to be a governor since he was in second grade. Like he's been on that track. But for me, it takes that. It takes people to feed into younger people's lives or other people's lives and sort of say, no, you can do this. You can push forward and you can do whatever you want. And that's what we try to tell our kids today, right? The kids, when we do mentorship programs and different things in our schools, we want our kids to know that anything is possible. With faith and hard work, anything is possible in this district. And that's something I've been told that we overlook, right? Again, if you want to make it partisan, I've always said this: if I wanted to win, all I need to do is change my political affiliation. Let's be honest. You have many leaders right here in Broward that used to be Republicans that turned Democrats and they win their race. You want me to run off the list? I can do it real quick. Hold on. I'm joking.
No, you have to.
You know who you are. Okay? You know who you are.
Some of them on the board now.
I don't care. I'll answer to him. Look at your sheriff. I love Sheriff Tony. Don't forget. You're an appointee just like me, okay? But everybody loves him because all he does is political party.
Oh Lord! Oh Lord! Oh Lord!
I'm gonna be real. Let's say like this. Listen, I'd rather lose and be true to myself than to be fake and win for the people. I won't do that. I will always be true to myself, and whether you like me or not, I will still be true to myself, and I'll be able to sleep at night and know that I'm true to what I believe in, my faith, the Constitution, and the Holy Bible. That's what I stand by. So if you have a problem with it, God bless you. But I'm not going to be fake to try to win an election, because people are identified and they define themselves by their title. Man, I'm defined by Lord Jesus Christ. That's it. So if you have a problem with it, find somebody else, man. But understand that this is what we're doing. I'm going to continue to do the work for not only Broward County and for our community, but I'm going to do it for the entire state, to make sure our schools are the safest, to make sure that they're up to par. And hey, I may be leaving Broward, but I'll be watching closely to make sure we're doing the right things right here at home. So thank you guys for having me again. God bless you. Thank you.
Wow.
Amen.
Wow.
It's about the best candidate. It's all about the best person. It's not about their political affiliation. So thank you so much, Dan. And let me just say this: I'm sure we'll be all back here again as soon as they start closing some of our schools.
So I see Perry is hanging. Perry, do you want to say something? No. Okay, good. All right, so let's do this. All right, I'll close this out. A couple of things. Go back and read Peter Tracy. That's the first thing. See how we got to this point. The other thing is, To thyself be true. I know Torey. I've met Daniel, and we've had some conversations. I told him then, and I'll tell him now. Your story needs to be told. Torey, you're living up to your story. So I thank you for that. In conclusion, the influence of politics on our school board has significantly shaped its direction, often to the detriment of the educational environment. Rather than focusing solely on the needs of students and teachers, political agendas have increasingly driven decision-making, leading to divisive policies and misplaced priorities. This has not only distracted from our core mission of providing quality education, but has also fostered an atmosphere of tension and partisanship. It is essential that we refocus our efforts on what truly matters: the well-being and success of our students, free from the sway of political interests. Let's keep the parental parent adult bullcrap out of educating our children. Let's do it from the simplest point, and that's from innocence. God bless you all, and thank you for joining us tonight. And I look forward to having us back. Thank you.
Thank you.